Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over this pistol that you see in my hands and that you saw throughout the intro. It's the Canik TP9 Combat Elite. I don't make the names, that's what they call it. But it's the latest offering from Canik, and it's got some upgraded features that the earlier Elite didn't have. So I think a lot of people were looking forward to it, myself included, and having the ability to run a can on it, which the other one didn't have as well, is something that we've taken advantage of and definitely tested out on this model. So what we're going to do first, of course, is let the dogs take a look at it. After that, we're going to come back and get into all the different details of this collaboration between Canik and the folks over at Salient Arms, which is, again, something new for this particular model. Normally I'm not one to go over what comes in the box in a lot of videos. However, this one here is kind of important because they give you a lot with it, and there's a lot of things going on. So we do get this holster right here that does come with it. It comes with a little thumb strap. I threw that away though, so I have no idea where it is. And you get your cleaning supplies, so you get a rod and a cleaning brush with it. Again, which is nice. That doesn't come with all the pistols out there that are competitors out there in the market. You get the pistol, of course, and you'll have a 15-round flush fit mag here, and then you'll also get another 15-round mag, but this one has a +3 base plate on it, and that comes from the factory. These are also available to purchase separately if you guys want to do that as well. These magazines, I should also mention, are Mech-Gar magazines, so extremely high quality. You guys know I love Mech-Gar mags. I say that in a lot of videos. You get this little wrench here if you want to really torque the crap out of your barrel nut there. That does come with it, the thread protector nut. You get our magazine loader here. We get 4 different plates for using with optics, which we'll get to here in just a second. You get this little box here, and what's in there is all kinds of stuff. You get 2 different replacement fiber optic rods for the front sight. You get a couple different, these things right here, which are, these are extended mag catch latches. I took mine off because I don't like extended mag catches, but I know some folks do. And if you do, you can just mount them up right there to make it stick out as far as you want to. And then additionally, it also comes with this little piece right here, which we'll kind of show you real quick how that works. If you have an optics plate on there and you have it mounted up on the pistol, you can run this little charging handle thing right here, and it will thread down into it. And then while it's on the pistol, you can use that to run the action. I'm not a huge fan of that for everyday type of use. However, some folks, whether they be competitive shooters, might really like it, or folks with disabilities or maybe arthritis in their hands, it'll help them get a little bit more leverage than they would otherwise be able to get. But yeah, that's what comes with the pistol. We also have, I should mention, this piece here, which is our interchangeable back straps. So you can swap the back straps out. The one that's on there now is the smaller version, and then of course we have the larger one here. Now that we have the box set aside, we'll get into the pistol itself and work our way up from the mag well here. So you guys can see we do have an enhanced mag well on there, and that can be taken off. So if you guys wanted to conceal carry this, you just remove this little bolt there and remove the mag funnel. However, I like it. One thing I always mention whenever talking about any sort of flared mag well is oftentimes, if they're done correctly, in my opinion, they will have the added benefit of not just easier loading of magazines, but also driving your hand up into this undercut here on the trigger guard, and this one definitely fits that to a T. So you guys can see there, when I take a natural firing grip, there's nowhere for my hand to go in terms of sliding down, simply because the front of the mag well there is pushing up on it. So that's an aluminum mag well, and that is a Salient Arms product, so that certainly is cool. Again, we talked about the back straps earlier, but the back straps have a good texturing to them, as does the front strap. And I've mentioned this in several gun videos before in the past, but I really like aggressive front and back strap texturing, simply because it will never be on your skin, you know. So if you're concealed carrying, this is the portion here on the sides that's going to be coming in contact with your skin or your clothes. And this has a decent texture to it, but it's nowhere near as aggressive here as the front and the back, which I like, because the front and the back, of course, under recoil, that's really the torquing force that's on the gun, and it definitely sticks to your hand pretty darn well. So not mad about that. We already mentioned the magazine release. They do have the two different extended versions. Those come on the gun. However, you can see there's a little screw hole. Just pull it out if you don't want it. Again, me personally, I don't want it because I accidentally tend to bump those things. But this mag release is interchangeable. It's not ambidextrous, but you can swap it over to the right side of the pistol for you left-handed shooters. And the mags, of course, are cut for ambi controls as well. Speaking of ambidextrous, we do have ambidextrous controls in terms of the slide lock and slide release. I like it because it's relatively large. However, if you have a high thumbs grip, like a lot of people do these days, as I do as well, you will not accidentally hit it and actuate it, causing, you know, false lockbacks or anything like that. So I do dig it. Very easy to hit, actuate, and then if you come up when you load your magazine in there, to just drop it real quick one-handed, get it back into battery. On the rear here, we do have good serrations. They're nothing to write home about, but they do the job of, you know, giving you good traction when you want to run the action. And then continuing on forward, we have this sort of scalloped out slide. As you guys can see there, it's going to save a little bit of weight, make it a little bit less flippy on the top of your hand when it's firing. One con I will give of this gun, as well as all of the TP9 series to date, is that for a gun of its size compared to its competitors, it has a relatively high bore access. Now we may be talking, you know, a millimeter or something like that over, say, an MNP, but, you know, it does matter when hundredths of a second count. Sometimes that can be a difference, but for most folks, you'll never notice the difference. We have our takedown levers here, which we'll get to in just a second, and then we have our front serrations. Again, nothing too crazy, but you can do press checks. You can run the action with them if that's what you're into. Right below that, we have 1913 rails. You have 3 different slots there. So any of your lights, lasers, etc. that you want to use will fit on there. Every one I've tried to date works so far, so you can't be mad about that. Our trigger guard here is large. It's kind of squared off, and it's good because if you wanted to run gloves or something like that, there's plenty of room in there for extra material and still being able to safely work the trigger. Speaking of the trigger, I'm sure many of you have noticed that it looks a little bit different than your traditional Canik triggers. As you guys can see here, it does have a trigger safety there, so that way the trigger cannot go back unless this piece, the red piece that you see there, is actually depressed. Of course, there's internal safeties as well for drop safety, but when you take that slack up out of that safety, it effectively becomes a flat face trigger. I know a lot of guys really like the flat face triggers. I'm certainly not opposed to them at all. This trigger's excellent. The Canik pistols have had great triggers over the years, but this one is the best so far in my opinion. So you can see there, as soon as we take that slack up, there's a little bit of movement, and then we're going to get back to our wall, and it breaks super crisp. There's very little to no over travel, and that's due to the design, again, of that piece of aluminum there hitting the back of the frame. And then the reset is super short. You guys saw that there. So it breaks right at 4.5 pounds on my scale. Very crisp, very predictable. Again, all the Canik triggers have been great, but this one's the best so far. Disassembly of the pistol is pretty straightforward, so you're going to want to lock it to the rear, inspect it, make sure there's no magazine, no round in the chamber. We're good to go there. Point in a safe direction, press the trigger, and at this point we're going to pull the slide back approximately 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch and pull down here on these 2 tabs, and the trigger will go forward. And as you see, it doesn't come all the way forward, just a little bit. So that's the way it's designed. There's nothing wrong with the gun. And one thing you'll notice if you look in here is that all the components that work when the trigger is pulled are polished. So our little safety deactivator there, which for those that don't know, those are pushing up here on this striker safety. Those are polished. The striker safety itself is polished. Our little striker tab back here at the rear that's actuating this piece back here in the rear, that's polished. So everything's polished for a super smooth trigger pull. And you can see here, we'll take out our spring and guide rod. It is a steel metal guide rod there. And then we'll take out our barrel. This barrel here is made by Salient Arms, along with the sights and then the mag well. Those are the Salient Arms components. You can see there it's got a nice wide feed lip to feed hull points or anything like that. We have some material taken out here, so that way it'll function even if there's a bunch of dirt, grime, and grit up under there. and then we have 13.5 by 1 threads. So that's kind of a con for this gun for most folks in America. A lot of us want our 1/2 by 28 threads, whether you're running a comp or a suppressor. There's just more available for that here in America, but they went with 13.5 for whatever reason. I was able to run it suppressed, as you guys have probably seen, and didn't have any issues there. But you can see the Salient Arms logo there on top, and then SAI, and the serial number, and all of that sort of stuff in there. We should mention that this has the FDE Cerakote on it. However, before the slide is Cerakoted, it is nitrided, and that's what you see underneath here. It's got a nitro carburized finish, which is going to give you good surface hardness, corrosion resistance, good wear properties, etc. Reassembly is pretty straightforward. We're going to throw our barrel back in there, put our spring and guide rod in, and then at this point we're going to make sure these 2 tabs here on the frame, the steel inserts, insert right here on the slide. Got ahead of myself, there we go. And just run the action and you'll be ready to go. From the factory, we have the red fiber optic insert in the front sight, and it's got good anti-glare serrations back here at the rear. The rear sight itself is all steel as well. We have anti-glare serrations on the rear surface. We have a square notch, and then right up front we have a good ledge, so that way if you want to do one-handed manipulations with the pistol, you can do so and not have to worry about it slipping off. Also, you'll see a loaded chamber indicator there on the top of the slide, and if there was actually a round in the chamber, that would be sticking up a little bit. We also have a cocking indicator here at the rear, and you guys will see that when you pull the trigger, it goes away. So that either way, you're going to know what state your pistol's in, although most folks, I would imagine, really aren't going to use that too much. While we're on the topic of sights, let's talk about this optics setup here. So there's pros and cons to it. The big con, in my opinion, is that you have to lose your rear sight if you're mounting a plate on there. I mean, that's not good. I know for competition use, it doesn't really matter. And as the optics become more and more durable, it becomes less of an issue. However, I would definitely like to see them offer a version of this with the rear sight still usable, even if you have to put it up front. In fact, I think that's optimal, but regardless of where they put it, I would definitely like to see the ability to co-witness your sights with an optic. So that's the downside of it. The upside of it is that it's well thought out and it's a very durable system. So I say that because this plate is going to screw down here into your slide, and the slide actually has helicoils built into it. And I've gone into those in the past, but the beauty of helicoils is that it's much less likely that your screws are going to come loose under recoil, particularly important on a slide that's reciprocating every time you fire it. The O2 here is for the Trijicon optics, and then they have 3 different ones rather, that cover pretty much every other sight out there. And basically these little holes here on the Trijicon are going to go just like so. So that way those act as a lug. Again, if you guys are doing one-handed manipulations with the optic, that's going to be taking up the force there. And then this piece here, which is all aluminum, by the way. I know some companies use plastic for this. Basically it fits snug right in there, so that way any of the shearing force, again, if you were to use this for manipulating the slide, is going to go straight into this block of steel here on the rear. So it's a very well thought out system, and I've had no issues, no movement with it at all, so good on them for that. I think we covered most of the important points so far in terms of details on the gun itself. Let's get into performance, right? So reliability, this pistol so far has about 900 rounds through it. About 2/3 of those were suppressed with the Liberty Cosmic suppressor on there. That's a relatively large can, as I'm sure some of you guys already noticed and probably commented on. It ran 100% in terms of function with that. However, 2 magazines, and there were 2 different magazines, so it doesn't seem to be a magazine issue. It didn't lock back on the rear, on the last shot rather, I should say. So if that's a bobble, I guess then those are the only bobbles it's had. Otherwise, it's been 100% reliable with any type of ammo we've put through it. The majority of that's been the Minuteman stuff, but we also put some Federal HSTs and gold dots through it, both 147 grain, I believe, and didn't have any reliability issues at all. So that certainly is a good thing. Price-wise, Canik in the past has kind of made their reputation on putting out good quality, affordable guns that run. This one is somewhat affordable given the features, but not as affordable as some of the other ones. I think the MSRP on this guy is $799. However, street price, you can find it right now for about $600 to $650, depending on where you look. Of course, we will drop links down below for you guys to pick one up if you're looking for one. So it's not super low cost. However, if you look at the feature set that you're getting here, it's probably the least expensive that has similar features out there on the model from any of the larger pistol manufacturers out there. And of course, the Salient parts probably add to the cost because Salient's not cheap, that's for sure. Accuracy wise, I didn't formally bench this one, but I can tell you it's plenty accurate. I shot it at 75 yards a good bit, and had no problems ringing the steel with it, particularly with the RMR on there. It just makes it a little bit easier, and I would imagine this barrel would be capable of shooting 2-inch groups at 25 yards without issue, which is about as good as you can expect from any pistol, particularly with guys like me behind the trigger. So that's pretty much it. You guys can see the Cerakote finish is wearing a little bit there on the slide, but as we mentioned before, it's nitrided, so underneath there in terms of corrosion resistance and protection of the actual pistol itself, it's not really compromised. It's just an aesthetics thing at that point. But yeah, all in all, it's been a good gun. It shoots great. Trigger's great, like we talked about. Wish they'd lower the bore access, maybe at a rear sight that you could use with your optic, but those are really my only complaints, and not really complaints per se, but suggestions. One thing that's been good about Canik, and the reason they have so many different models, is that they listen to their consumer base and tend to make rolling changes over time. But as is, I think the pistol's pretty sweet. So that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions about it, you can always post those questions down below in the comment section. However, if you need an answer to those questions, the best place to get me is over at my Facebook page. Also, if you guys are interested in deals on this pistol or really anything else, recommend you sign up for my email list. That can be found over at mrgunsandgear.com, or over on my Facebook page, you'll see a little button that says sign up on the top right. You can sign up for it there, and I send out a weekly email with great deals and videos from the week. So those are a couple places to reach me if you guys need an answer. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. If you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit the little subscription button on your screen here, and then also click the notifications bell, because that seems to be a thing now with YouTube that you won't see my videos even if you're subscribed without hitting that. So make sure you do that as well. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys in the next video.